Hi guys, here I am going to show you how to make a nice juicy Sri Lankan chicken curry. So first and foremost, I have selected a pan to make sure I can make enough curry for 3 people, and also to add the rice to the same dish once I'm done with cooking with the curry. So it's similar to how you would make a biryani, but we just won't be making any fancy biryanis today. This will most likely just be a fake biryani, but it's going to be a delicious chicken curry. Okay. First step is to add cooking oil, any oil that you use to cook your standard dish, and fill a single layer at the bottom of the pan. I have set the heat to high just purely because I like to make sure my seasonings do get cooked quite quickly. So what you do next is add a pinch of whole black peppercorns and cardamom. In this case here I have only used 3, but if you do want to add a little bit more, you are welcome to do so. So once you let the black peppercorn and cardamoms fry, you can chop 2 large onions and add that to this as well. So keep frying the onions until they slightly shrivel and bring a mild brown colour. Don't over fry this, as this will bring a horrible bitter taste. Also, it's just not healthy. So you would know when it does turn into a mild brown colour, which you'll see in a little while. So once this looks fairly mild brown colour and the onions do look a tad bit shriveled, not too much, but it should just be about right. You can still see the onions, it hasn't disappeared off. Make sure you add 3 large chopped tomatoes and 5 small tomatoes. So when I first started cooking, I only used to use the tomato paste, which also turned out fabulous. We did like the curry, and not just me, everyone did, so that's a good start. But fresh tomatoes do give that additional flavour. So I will still be adding a little bit of paste later on, but for now it'll just be these tomatoes, and I'm going to keep stirring them until they do become mushy, because I do like to make sure it becomes incorporated into the sauce. I don't really like chunky pieces of tomatoes, but once again, if that's something that you prefer, then of course you don't need to keep stirring it and mushing it until the tomato disappears off and only the skin is left. So here I have added 2 tablespoons of curry powder. This is honestly down to how spicy you want your curry. So you can add 1 tablespoon or just half a tablespoon. For me, obviously I am Sri Lankan, so I do prefer to have a nice spicy curry. I have also added some paprika, just 1 tablespoon over here. This is purely to give that enriched colour that I personally like to see in my curry. But if you don't have this at the moment, it does not matter. You can skip that stage in making this curry. So that definitely does look a lot more appetizing. Just keep mixing the product that we have added, and then add a little bit of tomato paste. I have added 3/4 of a tablespoon. Sorry, I do just take things out straight from the tub and tubes, as I'm too lazy to clean the 100 million dishes I'll have to later on clean if I were to display them in a fancy container at the moment. So you'll have to forgive me for that. So just keep stirring, and I kept stirring and cooking the contents until the tomato became slightly mushy. And you can just see that by pressing on those tomatoes. So here I've added 5 chilies, chopped chilies as well, purely because my family does like curry quite spicy, but also you can avoid this step if you're not into too much spice. So over here, as you saw, it has become quite mushy. I can separate the skin from the actual tomato pulp. So just keep stirring as usual. So here I've added some grinded cloves and ginger, about 8 cloves and 1 inch of ginger. If you don't want to add too much, then you don't have to. Please do add a little bit of water if the sauce does become sticky and it does stick to the pan, which you might do because you have added quite a bit of curry powder to it. Usually the tomato does the job by making sure it doesn't stick to the pan. The juice does tend to help with that, but sometimes you might just need to add a bit of water. I washed out the grinder pot, I don't really know what it's called, with a little bit of water, and I included that in the pan, just so it just doesn't stick to the pan and I don't want to take that risk. I'm also adding 2 tablespoons of biryani powder. I know we're not making biryani, but doesn't mean you can't use it. I personally like the taste, so I've just included that. And we are mixing all the contents together again. So once the sauce has a slightly thick consistency with well mushed contents, I then go on to add the chicken. So there you are, that's a nice consistency. So here I have used 750 grams of chicken wings. The chicken wings were marinated with turmeric powder, just a half a teaspoon of turmeric powder. You don't need too much, it does bring so much colour to it. It has a lot of health benefits too, and especially at this time, I think it would be great for you to add it to your standard dishes. And just mix it well with the sauce that we've already made. You can use any sort of chicken, it doesn't have to be chicken wings, but here I'm just using chicken wings. So I've also added half a cup of water and salt to taste. And finally, you just have to let it cook in low to medium heat for about 10 to 15 minutes. So here is the final look of the curry. Sorry it is not too clear, but I was frying some vegetables so I could add this to my lunch. And also it was giving out too much steam, so it was messing up my camera as well. So I have topped the curry with rice, just evenly spread across the pan. Don't mix it as it will become quite mushy. Unless that's how you like it, then that's absolutely fine. So I've just spread this across the dish, across the pan. I've also fried some onions as well, and I mixed that with my vegetables. So we'll just be topping that on top of the rice and spreading that equally across the pan as well. So when you do take this and pop it on a plate, it will come out looking like a cake. So at the bottom you'll have chicken, and in the middle you'll have your rice, and on top you will have your fried onions and your vegetables. But this is just optional, you don't have to do it. And as I said, this is kind of like a fake biryani, if you want to call it that way. If you do want to know how to make the fried vegetables, I will pop up another video later on that you can have a look at as well. And here we have it. So this is the vegetables and the dream pot ready to go.